which gives success its flavor. Let's think about that for a second. What could that possibly mean? I mean, how can failure have anything to do with success when the very definition of failure is to be unsuccessful? Well, as confusing as that sounds, that is exactly what I'm going to share with you guys today. To tell you that failure is, in fact, one of the most important steps towards your path to success. Curious to find out how? I thought I'd start off with a little story about myself. Many years ago, when I was 7 years old and much less wise, I received the most amazing pair of pink rollerblades from my uncle for Christmas. It was my very first pair and the most wanted item on my wish list that year. I knew I would be fabulous with it because why wouldn't I be? I was an uber-athletic child full of confidence. That confidence, however, was unfortunately very short-lived. I felt miserably the moment I took off from my front door before I even reached a curb on the sidewalk. Tears instantly rolled down my face from the pain and embarrassment of falling. I was a complete and utter failure that couldn't be like those amazing people on YouTube doing incredible tricks and things. I know, totally unrealistic expectations on my part for sure. But to 7-year-old me, it was pretty soul-crushing. Sad, upset, and disappointed, my first instinct was to abandon my rollerblades and give up. Failing wasn't fun at all, and I hated how it made me feel. My dad, however, sat me down and told me that it is perfectly normal for someone to not immediately be good at something, and that I had a choice to not give up. He reminded me of the time when I learned how to ride my bike without training wheels, and convinced me that I should give it another go. I hated not being good at something that I wanted to be good at, so I decided that I wasn't going to give up. I went all out for the next 2 months. I rode every day I could. I had so many bruises from falling, but each time I fell, I got right back up and tried again, because I could feel myself getting better, trying out different techniques as I picked up different know-hows. I was determined to succeed, and one day, I did just that. By the end of the 2 months, I was practically flying down my street, jumping off curbs and ramps, riding forwards and backwards. I looked legit professional, and I was so thankful that I chose not to give up. Now, I thought about my experience and couldn't help but to wonder if my failure played any part in my success in learning how to rollerblade. Was I just lucky that I happened to figure it all out? Well, it turns out that your success has a lot to do with your attitude, especially your attitude after you fail. And luck, as it turns out, has very little to do with it. Don't get me wrong. We can all use a little bit of luck now and then, but it isn't what's responsible for our successes. An article published by Entrepreneur Media titled The 2 Mental Factors That Determine If You Succeed or Fail. The author, Tor Constantino, talks about how people may not have full control over all their life's happenings, but they do have complete control over how they react to those happenings. Furthermore, he points out through his conversation with John Acuff, New York Times bestselling author and leadership speaker, that there are 2 key things that ultimately drive everybody's success and failure: attitudes and expectations. As explained by Acuff, displaying a positive attitude rather than a negative one is one of 2 crucial factors for success. The other, setting realistic and achievable goals for yourself so we're not setting ourselves up for disappointment and failure. What this is trying to say is that we are more likely to succeed if we stay positive and set achievable goals that we can realistically work towards. Now, remember that I told you that failure is an important step towards a path to success? We first spoke about 2 crucial factors: attitudes and expectations. But how does failure fall into all of this? An article published by Forbes titled Why Failing is an Important Part of Success can help us piece it together. In the article, the author, Romanu Maxwell, points out that failure is an unavoidable part of life, and it is important to remember that we should not limit ourselves because of our fear of failing. Moreover, he points out that setting a goal to achieve will always include some form of challenge that we must overcome, and some will be met with success, while others will result in failure. While not all challenges lead to success, accepting failure as a part of the process will encourage us to not give up and motivate us to continue to try. What Maxwell points out, however, is that trying again over and over and expecting a different outcome. What Maxwell points out, however, is that doing something over and over again will not automatically lead to success. Based on an article published by Scientific American titled failure found to be an essential prerequisite for success. Not all failures lead to success because persistence doesn't guarantee success. In the article, the author, David Noonan, stresses that trying again and again only works if and only if you can learn from your previous failures and you then apply those learnings on your next try. The idea is, work smart, not hard. According to Noonan, if you're able to figure out what worked and what didn't, and how you can improve the next time around, you will succeed. Doing the same wrong thing that didn't work before over and over again and expecting a different result is just not smart. Then, what can we do to maximize our chances of success after we encounter failure? An article published by Talkspace, an online therapy company, titled The Psychology Behind Success and Failure, sums it up quite nicely. The author Renee Fabian quotes Charles Darwin when he said, "It is not the strongest of the species that survives, it is the one that is most adaptable to change." She writes that we people are designed to turn weaknesses into our greatest source of strength because it is from our failure that we can learn how we need to adapt and grow to be successful. Thankfully, we can all learn how to do this by remembering these few things. As Fabian reminds us in her article, first, we must have a positive attitude and remember to apply a growth mindset to our lives. Next, and it is important to remember that we can grow and learn from our failures through hard work and effort. Second, we must try to never give up and have grit, which will not only allow us to have the perseverance, but also the passion needed to succeed. Third, we must set the right expectations and remember to be flexible by being able to adapt and change as needed to work towards our goals. And additionally, we must not be afraid to ask for help. Accepting support and help from others when needed is a smart move. So, what are you waiting for? What do you want to accomplish? Get out there and keep trying the smart way. Thank you for listening.